Global North and Global South. The terms Global North and Global South are geopolitical and socioeconomic frameworks for categorizing the world's countries. They are not strictly geographical, as many countries in the Global South are in the Northern Hemisphere. Global North, this generically refers to the economic development, industrialized countries. These nations are typically characterized by high per capita income, technological advancement, political stability, and dominant position in the global economy. This group includes countries like North America, Europe, parts of Asia like Japan and South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. Global South. This term encompasses countries that are less economically developed and have lower incomes. These groups include nations like Africa, Latin America, and most of Asia. These countries are often have a history of colonialism and are still in grappling with challenges like poverty, political instability, and economic dependence on global north.
How the global divide developed. The divide between the global north and global south is a direct legacy of colonialism and imperialism. During the colonial era, European powers exploited the resources and labor of countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. This process transferred immense wealth from the colonized south to the colonizing north, fueling the Industrial Revolution and interacting an unique global economic system. The post-independence era did little to correct the imbalance as new nations in the global south remained dependent on the north. For manufactured goods, faced unfavorable trade terms for their raw materials. The global divide between North and South emerged from historical and structural inequities, including, first, colonialism. Global South regions were colonized and exploited for resources, labor, and markets. Second, Industrial Revolution. The global North industrialized early, gaining wealth and power. Third, post-colonial dependency. After independence, many countries in the South remained economically dependent on the North through unequal trade and debt. Lastly, global institution. Systems like the IMF and World Bank often favored Northern interests.
The difference between Third World and Global South. The term Third World emerged during the Cold War to categorize countries that were not aligned with either the capitalist First World led by the US or the communist Second World led by the Soviet Union. It was initially a political term, but it quickly became associated with poverty and underdeveloped, taking on a pejorative connotation. In contrast, the term Global South is a more modern and nuanced concept. While it can be used to refer to the same group of countries, its purpose is different. It emphasizes a shared history of colonialism and collective struggle against neo-colonialism and global inequalities. Unlike Third World, Global South can also include marginalized or exploited communities within Global North countries, highlighting that the divide is not just between nations but also within them. The term emerged after the end of the Cold War, replacing the new, now obsolete three-world model.
The divide can be seen in several areas. So economy. Economy in Global North is high-income industrialized, while in Global South, economy is low to middle income developing. Technology. In Global North, technology is advanced digital infrastructure, while in Global South, limited access to technology. Education. In Global North, education is high literacy and access to education, while in Global South, lower literacy rates and limited resources. Health. Health in Global North is quality healthcare system, while in Global South, underfunded health issues. Political influence. In Global North, political influence, strong voice in global decision making, while in Global South, often marginalize global politics.
Global South. The term Global South emerged after the Cold War to describe nations outside the traditional East-West divide. It became a way to group countries based on shared development challenges rather than political alliances. Number 2, it referred to economic disadvantage or developing countries that often face poverty and inequality. Many of these nations continue to struggle with limited access to resources, technology, and stable economic growth. 3. It is socio-economic and geopolitical term, highlighting both economic condition and international relation. This means it looked not only at wealth and poverty, but also at power and influence in global affairs. 4. The Global South is seen as a more accurate and respectful term compared to older labels like Third World. It avoids negative connotation and emphasizes solidarity among developing nations. The Global South refers to developing region in Latin America, Africa, Asia, and Oceania, many of which are classified by the World Bank as low and middle income nations. This country faces challenges such as poverty, inequality, and limited access to technology, but some also show rapid growth in areas like manufacturing and service. They play a key role in global issues like climate change, being highly vulnerable despite contributing less to greenhouse gas emission. In recent years, emerging economies such as India, Brazil, and South Africa have increased the Global South influence in international politics and trade.
The term of the Third World was first used in 1952 by French demographer Alfred Sauvé during the Cold War to describe the countries that were not aligned with the United States and Soviet Union. Initially, it was a political term and did not refer to poverty and underdevelopment. Over time, however, the Third World became widely associated with economically poor and developing nation. Often in the Africa, Asia, and Latin America, the term is now considered that outdated and sometimes offensive. It implies a ranking system between nations. Today is neutrally terms like developing countries or global south are used to describe this region. So the difference between Third World and Global South. Third World is originated during the Cold War era and refers to the countries that not aligned to the US, United States, and Soviet Union. Mainly the political level and now considered that outdated for perspective.
So the new concept of global relation emerged from the experience of Latin America countries. So the experience of Latin America countries, particularly in mid-20th century, were instrumental in developing of new perspective of global relations, known as dependency theory. This theory directly challenged into prevailing Western countries' ideas about economic developing and international politics. The experience of Latin America countries gave the rise to a new way of thinking about global relations, primarily through dependency theory. This perspective directly challenged the older idea that all countries would naturally develop in the same way as Western world. Instead, thinkers from Latin America argued that the poverty of underdeveloping of their nation were not the result of them being backward, but were a direct consequence of global system that unfairly benefited wealthy industrialized countries. They saw a world as being divided into a power core that extracted resources and labor from dependency periphery. This understanding of shifted the blame for underdeveloping from international problems with a country of unequal and explosive relationship that exists the global economy. So the new conception challenged the prevailing modernization theory, which posited that all countries would follow a linear path of development from traditional to modern, mirroring the West dependency theory. Introduced that the idea of global hierarchy of power where core nations, the North, exploit the periphery, the South with the semi-periphery of nation. In between, this framework highlighted the need for countries in Global South to break away from dependent relation and pursue their own path of development.